Something that's seldom talked about is how the things in your life influence you. And one of those things is your friends, the people you have around you, the kind of conversations that you have, how they treat you, the kinds of things you do with them. All this kind of stuff really works to influence how you feel about yourself, how you live, even. And one thing I want to talk to you about is something I wished I had done much sooner in my life. I waited too long to do this, I think, and it has made a massive impact on my life. And that is, I started to get rid of those shitty people in my life, the people who didn't respect me, the people who really weren't interested in me as a person and who I was. They were more interested in just filling their time with someone, and I just happened to be that person. But this led me to feel unhappy, unsure of myself, uncertain of what I should be thinking and feeling and doing, because when you're around someone who doesn't really respect you, you start to sort of question yourself. Certain things that they would do would be very open and blasé about their opinion, but when I would try to chime in and talk to them about anything, an opinion of movie, music, a person, what one should be doing in life, anything, they would shut it down. They would shut me down immediately. Tell me to be quiet, tell me my idea's wrong, just out, like the second I'd start talking, they'd tell me, no, that's wrong. You don't know what you're talking about. Another thing they would do is dismiss my emotions, how I was feeling, what I was going through. I mean, I went through a really bad breakup about 5 years ago, and they just didn't really care. They weren't really that interested. They said, sorry to hear it. But, that was about it. There was no consideration for what I might be going through, what I might need at that time. They just still wanted me to be going over to their place, hanging out, and doing what they wanted to do, without realizing that maybe I would be in need of something different, not just the same old hangout stuff that they wanted to do. And when my brother died, some of these people didn't even really say anything about it. Like, they didn't even say sorry, or if they did, that was it. Sorry to hear about that. But then they wanted to just continue with life as if nothing had happened, as if everything was fine. Because of it, I just felt totally invisible all the time. I felt like who I was, my thoughts, my emotions, my life just was unimportant and didn't matter, and it was invisible because the people I spent time around treated me that way. And because I was in this situation, because I was feeling that way, I just always had this sort of level of sadness and anger sort of all the time. It was always sort of there. And what's interesting is I never really realized it until over time, I started meeting other people just naturally. And they treated me with respect. And they were interested in me, and they were interested in my thoughts and my feelings, and they would ask me how I was doing and what I wanted to do with them, and they were genuinely interested in me, and because of it, I was far, far more invested with those people than I was with these old friends who just did not treat me well. So over time, I started to realize that the friends who treated me with respect and interest and concern were far better to be around than the ones who didn't. And so I before really realizing it, I started to try and change these other people, the people who didn't treat me with respect. I tried to change them. I would try to explain to them, how it makes me feel hurt if they ignore my concerns about something, if they ignore my emotions, or they dismiss my thoughts, or they tell me to shut up when I'm explaining my position on something, or if I'm just trying to have a discussion with them and they tell me, they interrupt me and tell me no. These things hurt my feelings. They're not respectful, but they didn't care. They did not want to hear it. They weren't interested. And above all, they did not change. They didn't change. But I changed. Over time, I started to realize it's just not worth investing in these people. These people who don't invest in me leave me feeling frustrated, hurt, alone, invisible, angry. It's just not worth it. It's not worth having people like that in my life. And so over time, I started to distance myself from those people who treated me poorly. And in some cases, I cut them out very quickly. But most of them, over time, I just started to sort of let those relationships die on their own without putting more effort into them. I would stop investing in them and invest in relationships with the people who were genuinely interested in me, who did invest in me. And one of the things I noticed as I was sort of phasing those people out is I was becoming a lot more happy, like a lot more comfortable day to day with myself and my life and my thoughts and my feelings, and just more accepting of who I am, less angry, less sad, and much more productive and willing to do things in my life. Whereas before, when I was with these people who didn't respect me, I was less productive, less interested in living my life because I felt like crap about myself. So the kind of people that you're around really affects how you see yourself, what you do with your life, how you live. It really has a huge impact, and it's so important to get rid of the people who don't invest in you, to get rid of the people who treat you like garbage, who just aren't interested in you. One of the terms people use for these people is just low investment friends. The people who don't put in the effort to nurture a healthy relationship between you and them. So I want to go over some of the things that you can do to start putting distance between you and those old friends of yours who don't treat you well, because it's not easy. And also, I want to go over some difficulties you're going to face when you start doing it. So number one is to set boundaries for yourself. So one of the boundaries I set for myself is if they are showing signs of having no interest in what I'm saying, or what's going on in my life, or how I'm feeling. If they're interrupting me and just telling me, be quiet, shut up, or, no, you're wrong, but without ever hearing what I'm actually saying, that's a huge teller for me. These people have no interest in me as a person. So why am I here? There's no point in investing in this relationship anymore. They're clearly not interested in who I am, what's going on in my life, my thoughts, my feelings. So don't invest. Stop investing in it. You're just wasting your time. So that boundary I would call self-respect. Make sure that you're maintaining your self-respect by ensuring that other people's treatment of you has a consequence. Like if they're going to show you that they don't respect you, make that a boundary. In certain circumstances, when you feel like someone's sort of encroaching on that boundary, make it clear to them too. Politely and calmly make it clear to them, like, I don't really appreciate this. I don't really appreciate what you're doing. And how they respond will tell you whether or not they really do care about you. Because if they care about you, obviously they're going to show concern. Obviously they're going to be upset. Oh, sorry, I really didn't mean to hurt you. Let's talk about it. But if they don't care, then they'll say, oh, sorry, and then not change. They won't address the actual issue. They're just going to say, oh, well, you're touchy, and then just keep doing it. Another thing you can do to begin putting distance between these people is to stop putting in the effort. Because that's something I noticed in myself, is that a lot of these friendships where they didn't respect me, they weren't interested in me, when I stopped putting in the effort, nothing happened. Like nothing happened between us. They would never really reach out to me. They would never ask to hang out, ever. It was all me in the past, that I had just never really realized it. But the second I stopped putting in the effort, the relationship was gone. It was me maintaining that relationship the whole time. So if you're feeling like you aren't being respected and that you're not getting an equal amount of interest from this other person, try rolling back the amount of effort that you put into it and see if they're going to match that. And thirdly, I think this one is really important, is that you need to be honest with yourself about how you're feeling in a relationship, and just being honest with the people that you're friends with. If someone has said something or done something that makes you feel sad or angry, or makes you feel invisible, or makes you feel something negative, just simply be honest with them. Just come to them and say, hey, I didn't really appreciate that comment you made the other day. And just tell them how you're feeling about it. And make sure that you're being as calm and polite and making it about how you're feeling, and don't make it an accusatory statement. Like, you did something wrong, or you did something stupid and I don't like what you're doing. But instead just say, I don't love the way you're treating me. I'd like things to change a little bit. And if they don't want to put in that effort, that tells you immediately how they view the relationship. If they're not willing to put in the effort, they don't care about it. because we put in effort into what we care about. We invest in the things that we care about. And if they're not willing to invest in you, they don't care about you. And if they care, you'll see it. If they care about you, they'll try and make sure that they're not upsetting you in the future. So simply being honest with people can help tremendously with your relationships with people, and help you just get to the actual essence of what that relationship is really about pretty quickly. I want to talk about some of the difficulties you're going to face if you start to do this. And one of those difficulties is you're going to feel guilty. You're going to feel like, oh, I'm neglecting this guy. I've known him since first grade, and, I didn't even tell him happy birthday. It was his birthday the other day. Sure, we haven't talked in 2 months, but it was his birthday, and, I cared about this guy, and we had a lot of good times together. And don't let that guilt make you forget about why it is that you started putting distance between you and them. Because the thing is if you went through the process that I was talking about earlier, about making sure that you're honest with them, making sure that you make how you feel clear to them, and they showed no interest and they're not investing in you anymore, the thing to do here is to give yourself time. Give yourself time to process that feeling of guilt and to think about why you put distance between you and them to begin with. They were treating you poorly, they were ignoring you, whatever it was. And you tried to tell them about this, and you tried to make it clear that you didn't appreciate that, and they didn't care, they didn't change. Make sure you're holding those reasons clearly in your mind, so you don't simply feel this guilt and let that guilt drag you back into a situation that you don't want to be in, that's not good for you, that's going to make you unhappy. Guilt can be a very powerful motivator, and the thing to do is to stop yourself from acting on that guilt, to allow yourself to just feel it, to sit with it and be with it, to recognize it, but don't act on it. Don't get your phone out and, oh man, sorry about, happy birthday, or whatever it is. Just let it be. Look at it. See why you feel it. Examine it. But don't act on it. Another thing is you might end up missing them. Some of these friends I grew up with, so I definitely missed them. There was tons and tons of good times that I was sort of moving away from, and I was missing that at certain points. And in some ways, I still miss it. Sort of like with the guilt. You gotta remember, why did I do this to begin with? I think something to keep in mind is that same idea of you need to invest in those who invest in you. Now, another thing is you're probably going to feel lonely when you let go of these people. Because, if you're getting rid of friends from your life, you're going to have less friends. But the key to know is that life with less friends, and in fact even no friends, is far, far better than life with friends who don't respect you, that treat you poorly. Because like I was saying in the beginning of the video, is that the kind of people that you have in your life really affect you. They affect how you feel about yourself. They affect your level of happiness, your sense of efficacy of what you're capable of doing in life. I mean, you go from being unhappy, unsure of yourself, uncertain, low self-esteem, to being capable of feeling good about yourself. Because you don't have these people in your life telling you that, you're no good, or you're treating you like you're no good, or you're not important, or you're not interesting, or you're not worth anything. Because that's ultimately how you feel when you have people in your life who don't invest in you in the way that you invest in them. Is you're going to feel like you're not worth investing in. And without those people in it, even if you're alone, that's still better, because then you're able to have full control over how you feel and think. You're able to grow your self-esteem. You're able to grow your sense of self. It's absolutely important to make sure that you're not spending your effort and your energy and your time investing in people who really don't care about you, because it's your life that's at stake. Because when you're spending this time with people and this effort, it's effort and time that you're never going to get back. And that's why I regret it, is because I look back on years of spending time with people who just really didn't care about me. And I'm never going to get that time or effort back. And I wish I was working on things like doing Helios videos instead of spending time with them. Or spending time with a lot of the friends that I have now. Because the friends I have now really are good people. They're really interesting, fascinating, wonderful, nurturing, loving people. And so I'm telling you, this one bit of advice is that don't end up like me regretting that time lost. Make the choice now to say, I've got boundaries. I won't let people treat me this way. And I'm going to be honest with them if they do. And ultimately, I'm not going to invest in people who don't invest in me. Because it's your life at stake. When we're younger, we feel like we have tons of time to waste, but we really don't. I hope this video has been helpful for you, and if you want to hear more about this kind of stuff, be sure you hit like and subscribe. Thanks so much for watching.